Hi, it's Pam. It's time for lesson 6. This lesson is going to help you understand a little bit about the importance of something that people are often confused about, and that's travel insurance. It is very important. In fact, in your passport, like here's my passport, it's in this cute little cover. In the front, a couple of pages here, it mentions travel insurance along these lines. It says health insurance. So people, of course, never read this probably, and it says Medicare/Medicaid does not cover health care costs outside the U.S. Does your insurance apply overseas, including medical evacuation, payment to a hospital or doctor overseas, or reimbursement to you later? And then it says, see our brochure, and it's got, a website that you go to. So it addresses the fact that you do need to be updated on what's the situation if you do have a medical situation out of the country. So it does specifically talk about Medicare, Medicaid, because a lot of people that are older and have those kinds of policies, they don't realize that they really are not covered for that out of the country. Also, one of my friends who sells insurance, she has mentioned that there are Medicare policies that are set up such that they don't cover people. Let's say, like I live in Texas, there are policies that people sign up for, and they are only covered to be treated in Texas. And if something happens to them in another state, it can be a big fiasco to get home and be treated. So I had no idea about that. So travel insurance is something that when I first propose a trip, and we've talked about how I talk to people about trips and some of the things that, questions we ask. And one thing I've learned to ask as we finish our consultation is I'll mention, now we're going to talk about travel insurance. And as you're thinking about your trip, I say to them, as you're thinking about your trip, think about what types of things would make it so you had to cancel your trip. Would it only be in the case of a medical emergency with you or someone in your family? Or would there be some perhaps job-related situation that's not a medical emergency, but something that's job-related or something else that's not medical that could make you need to cancel? Okay, so travel insurance is the kind of thing, like I tell people, I hope you spend money on it, and it's money you really didn't have to spend. But if you needed it, you would be so glad you had it. And it gives you peace of mind, it gives me peace of mind. So we have preferred suppliers through Gifted Travel Network. These are some companies that have really helped people out. And if we have travelers who need some help, they are very quick to get back to us. And of course, during our pandemic, they were overwhelmed with all the millions of claims. And so, of course, even for our preferred suppliers, it took quite a while to get things all taken care of. And that has, been, well, the wait times on phone calls and all that is greatly reduced. So, things are so much better than they were. So the kinds of things that I tell people that would make you wish you had travel insurance are cancellations. You've planned this wonderful trip, you do something like break your leg, or something happens with somebody in your immediate family where you've got to cancel, or you had something job related or something else where you just say, I can't go on this trip. Those are situations where you're going to wish you had travel insurance. If you go on your trip and something happens where you've got to maybe rush home because something happened to somebody in your family, immediate family, those are situations where you're going to wish you had coverage to get home and also be reimbursed for some of that trip that you're missing. Also things like, heaven forbid you have a medical emergency during your trip, you're in Switzerland or somewhere, and you've got to be treated and you've got to be airlifted out of somewhere. Those kinds of things are situations where you're going to wish you had medical insurance that's covered. Also things that are not as big a deal, but lost luggage, lost passport, delayed connections, those kinds of things, they may not be life-threatening, but they can really be a problem. So we have 3 companies that I'm going to send you the link, and I want you to go and take a look at their policies. I mean, there's several companies that do a really good job, but the 3 I want you to look at, so you'll kind of be familiar. Travel Insured. That's the company I have ended up selling their policies the most because they have several of them. They do have the option where you can add on a cancel for any reason option to some of their policies. So that, when they say, yes, I do have a job situation that could make me cancel, they do have that option with some of their policies. There's the company TravelX. They do have some cancel for any reason add-on options as well. And there's one called Allianz. So I'm going to send you those websites. Now, I'm going to use as an example, AMA Waterways. Okay, River Cruises, they're one of our preferred partners. And you look at their brochure, you see the beautiful itineraries, everything about the food, and oh my goodness, so many wonderful things about their trips, and their itineraries, so much to recommend. I love sending people on their trips. But you'll notice a lot of our providers that do have a brochure, or they have a website. Well, I guess they all have websites. That they'll talk about all those fun things. And then at the very end, maybe they'll go, oh, yeah, we do have travel protection or travel insurance. And they kind of do it sort of like an afterthought. Now it shows their insurance is AIG, which is actually Travel Guard, which is another highly regarded travel insurance company. They just don't happen to be one of the companies that GTN has partnered with as a preferred partner. So nothing wrong with them, but they have partnered with, in this case, AMA Waterways. And in that case, AMA says, okay, you book your cruise through us if you want to have our insurance. And sometimes it's a little bit reduced price, and it's maybe not priced like the others where it would be per age and per price of trip or something like that. There might be a price cut depending on how it's set up. But, those can be great. But sometimes I find it's a better deal overall for the client to go with those independent companies that I already mentioned to you. But as just an example, it shows in this brochure, the things that it covers. And it's, trip cost for cancellations and interruptions, trip delays, missed connections, baggage and personal effects, baggage delay, accident, medical expenses, emergency evacuation, repatriation of remains. Now that's one you don't want to think about. That's like if somebody died on a trip, which, yeah, that could happen, and then having your remains sent back home. I'm imagining that's probably a very complicated situation. So I've never had that happen, but it's covered. So, and things, just assistance. They have kind of a concierge, all these different insurance companies, to help you out if you had someone have an emergency where they really needed to have help. I guess I needed emergency help with my scarf. Look at my scarf, it's traveling. I should have a prize for whoever noticed that. I didn't. So the insurance is very important. And so I always mention it to people when I'm pricing the trip. I don't want to wait till, oh, here's your trip, here's the price. And then later go, oh, well, here's insurance. I like to have it be, here's the total price. It generally is, I used to say it's about 10% of the price, additional. Now I say probably it's 13%, 12 or 13% additional for the price, additional of the price of your trip. But I think it's well worth it. And I always say, let's pay for it at the time of your deposit, because you're going to learn as you look at some of the information with the different policies, you're going to learn that if you wait more than a few days beyond when you place deposit, then those insurance companies can say, oh, well, now we don't cover pre-existing conditions. And believe me, people will say, oh, I don't have any pre-existing conditions. And, they'll say, oh, I'm healthy, nothing ever happens. Well, we all say that. And then that's why surprises are surprises, because unfortunately, sometimes people have something that happens to them. So I want you to take a look at those insurance policies. just to try to know a little bit about what they're all about. And so I think all this training we're doing, I'm kind of showing you big picture, just the concepts behind travel planning and some of our preferred suppliers and some of the, just the kind of big picture of what we're talking about, so that pretty soon when it's going to be a matter of, okay, here are the logins and the details of how you're going to book these different things for people, I don't think it's going to be so overwhelming, because you're already going to have kind of an idea of here's what we're going to be putting together and why. So at least that's my hope, because I know when I started it was pretty overwhelming. So anyway, that's our lesson. So look for some links I'm going to send you, and got my scarf all straightened out now. Take care.